go. And let's see if I can get this happening a little bit more for us. Good morning, folks. Hi, how's it going? This is Jack Devine. Welcome back to another episode of Office Hours. Today we're going to talk about the sometimes perilous world of high gain and how to make a guitar sound nice with plenty of clipping and overdrive or distortion, and maybe even some fuzz. So I figured we could talk about how to attain feedback and how to harness it and make it musical rather than harsh, and maybe some of the muting techniques that are utilized by players that employ this kind of sound. Now, most of this channel has been dedicated to Grateful Dead music, because that's where I've found my little sweet spot out here. That said, I wasn't always a clean tone guy, and for a long time I used to play really heavy rock. And so I'm pretty familiar with the wonderful world of high gain. So one thing, people will tell you can't play high gain with a single coil guitar. That's bullshit. You really can. I'll show you in a minute with my Strat, but definitely the Les Paul or the double humbucking variety guitars like a 335 or an SG are ideally suited to this application. And right now I'm on the bridge pickup of my 335. I'm going into a Marshall profile with some reverb and a little delay, and I'm on the bridge pickup with the tone all the way down to achieve what we would call that kind of horn-like woman tone, right? So if we hear going on. It's muted. It's kind of has a very like a heel back kind of sound, okay? That's the tone knob being on 0. So you can see that the overtones will take over, and after a while the guitar begins to hear itself. So if the pickup can hear itself loud enough, then it has a chance of creating a feedback loop. And that's effectively the equivalent of circular breathing on the guitar. If we were a horn player, we'll learn how to create that infinite note, right? So there we are. I'm getting it on this E, it seems. Let's see if we get it on the E flat. Less so. C sharp seems to be in a good mood today. Let's try D. Okay, so you can kind of see what's happening. My guitar is, I would say, not stage volume, but it's definitely loud. Right? My wife would be upset if she heard it like point blank range. Right? And right now we've got that kind of thing, that Tony Iommi kind of. Okay, very thick kind of. I want to caution you against thinking that that's unusable because it's not super bright. It's incredibly useful because it's not super bright. It's rich where we want to be heard most and not shrill. So when we come up high and we go, it sounds nice and thick. Right, it sounds nice. Okay, now if we want to, sure, we can brighten it up. Let's try, watch this. This is what's so crazy about this. If you're hearing this through headphones, you'll probably be able to hear it, but... Right, so that's on 0. I'm gonna go to 2. Okay, this is just the tone. Significantly more high end in the room now. All right, if we go to 3, I think that's about where I normally like it to be. All right, at this point we've got... We shouldn't have lost too much of the sustain. It's just now we have more squealy. A little bit more high end, okay? And that's what most people go, it's kind of squirrely and bright up there. You know, that squeak. Let's see what we can get out of the neck pickup, right? We're on 7 on the 7.5 on the volume. Down at about 2.5, okay? So I'm a huge believer in using the tone knobs, okay? And that's why this doesn't hurt to be in the room. If I bring it into the middle position, we're going to get like a nice blend between the brighter bridge pickup and the creamy neck pickup with rolled down tone, rolled down volume. Whole thing's going to round out and get a little bit sweeter. So that's that kind of Clapton thing. Now, man, it's more gain than Clapton ever got a hold of. But... Pretty good. Like really nice high gain sound without being shrill. I've got a noise gate on my guitar right now, actually. Kind of heard it grab that note and kill it. Okay, lovely, lovely fluty-like overtones that come. Okay, so this is a Marshall, and I've got a little reverb, a little delay. Right, and I'm using what they refer to fondly as a treble boost circuit. All right, what does the treble boost do? Well, it's just pretty aptly named. It hypes up the treble content, and basically what happened is the old non-master volume Marshalls, which JCM 800 is largely patterned after, all right, had a very bass-heavy profile, to the point where on the bridge pickup on 10 with the knobs all on 10, you still had to roll all the bass off because there wasn't any filtration going on in the amp. And consequently, the low end would get quite woofy and smeary, all right? And it would cause some issues with the phase inverter which sound beautiful when it's really maxing, but it was a little unreliable in terms of had some, you would get sometimes you'd get like ghost notes and stuff like that. So you'd be playing something and you'd hear like, you know how when we go like this, and you're hearing like that other note go roo sometimes, right? That could appear in an undesirable way with the, so ultimately they ended up filtering out a lot of the low end, and they also added a bright cap and started increasing the upper mid-range focus. But people fixed that before they went into the amp to do it by virtue of these little treble boosters. And I think the Range Master was the primary box, and this is one of the effects that Tony Iommi used out in front of his Laney to kind of soup it up, and you hit that front tube with a little bit more brighter of a profile, and then allow the darkness of the circuit to kind of compensate for it, and then you utilize your tone controls. Tone controls, people. This is the secret to working with high gain, and to like a four knob guitar is great for this. So I can have the neck pickup sound bright and fluty. Okay, and then the bridge pickup can be down dark. Or we can balance it out, make this. If we go to the bridge, the neck. That's the treble pickup on 3. All right, if I bring that up to 5 or 6, it's going to get way too snarky. Squirrely, and the guitar starts to overdrive in terms of unpleasant feedback. Okay, that comes from these non-potted pickups. These pickups are the original guitar, and they weren't dunking them in paraffin, and they got covers on them, and they're kind of, you can hear they're pretty microphonic. Okay, so you do have to be. If I do this on the bridge pickup on 10 and 10, and I take the noise gate off and I play, it'll start to squeal. Too bright anyway for my taste, so I just back it down, keep it there at 3 or 4. Right? This isn't a heavy metal guitar, but it can definitely make some pretty heavy sounds. All right, so here we are. Neck pickup. I roll it down a little bit. And then blend it with the bridge and roll the tone down on both of them, and I get that. Now let's talk a little bit about feedback. All right, there's only there's only one real way to get it, and that's with some volume. If your guitar can't hear itself, then you're going to have to employ like the use of an EBow or a Sustainiac pickup or something like that. And that can be a great sound. I love those things, but that's not the same as this great word I learned in college, aleatory. And it means like, it's really the luck of the draw, whether or not the guitar is going to do what you want it to do. And when it does, it because it's somewhat randomized and undependable, or I guess unpredictable is a better word, it's exciting when it happens. So when you pick up that guitar and you go, fascinating to feel the string come alive. There's a moment where you realize that you're no longer underway from your own force, that the actual guitar has taken over and you're kind of surfing this randomized occurrence, okay? Now, what are the things that we can do to increase the likelihood of this, okay? Definitely facing the pickups to the sound source, okay? So let's find a note that doesn't want to feedback, right? Saw what happened. It came alive, wrong note. It wasn't continuous, right? But I waited for it to die. And there was already some good, pleasant feedback there. If I come up to 2 or 3, let's see what happens. By the way, you change anything on the knobs. You change where you're standing, how high you're standing. If I'm up here, right, we're gonna get more effect. Different effect out of the whole thing. Which note am I hitting? This E, this one, right? They all have a different likelihood of actually sustaining infinitely, or maybe one will misbehave and kind of go to a third, right? There's all kinds of great effects that we can get out of this thing. So let's talk a little bit about some other things that we might want to take advantage of. Let's reduce some of the gain. All right, this should yield like a pretty aggressive rock rhythm sound, right? We're on like 6 on the bridge pickup. Okay, and I'll take off the delay. What happened there? Something weird happened there. Not quite sure. Something weird went on with the stuff. I don't get it. Not quite sure why well, I was trying to talk a little bit about a great sound that I like, and it's the Stones "Get Your Yayas Out" kind of. So that's the bridge pickup, and if we darken it up a little bit more, all right, that's on 2 rather than 3. We're up on 3 or 4, it's going to be much shriller. All right, if we bring it down to 2, we're going to get that. Okay. Now we'll mix it in with the neck. Still fucked up. This isn't making any sense. There we go. Somehow it came back online. I do not know what the fuck is going on with YouTube these days. All right, I was trying to talk to you a little bit about how to get a good rock, not metal, not grunge, not where I started, which was more high gain. All right, what have I done? I've taken the treble booster off. All right, so this is effective. It's not clean, okay, but at least you can get to cleaner sounds by virtue of your volume knobs. All right, so this is on 6 on the neck pickup, tone down at 4. Right, good rock and roll, good blues sound. I think the noise gate personally is up a little high on this setting right now for this sound. Is if I was going to feature this more, like, right, maybe a little bit more. So if we're looking at getting like a really nice, good thud, like. Okay, that's me on 8.5 and 4. Is keep that neck pickup kind of there for that dirty rhythm, maybe add a little bit more clarity. That's pretty nice. And then bridge pickup, keep it on that honky. That comes in really handy for the leads. Really, it reminds me of Mick Taylor. A little ho to it. Garcia liked to use that. Even Tony Iommi liked to use that. You know, you get that, what is that? That kind of sound? Tune. Children of the Grave, right? Awesome tune. It might be one of my favorite riffs of all time. It's not, it's actually played in C sharp, so what would that be? To figure out these new chords for this detune stuff. Anyway, neck pickup, cleanish. Maybe even a little cleaner. So you can get that, mix them together. If you guys don't know this trick, this is a good one, all right? I think it's an important move. Pinky on the E string, B. All right? Index finger bars. All right, first of all, get it in tune. And now you've got instant open G tuning. So if we come up here and get that, what is it? Get up here. All right, so all about that pinky being there, so you get that thing happening. Remember about Overdrive is that it tunes differently than clean. Maybe you guys aren't devoted to the Van Halen kind of idea like I was, being a kid during the 80s. I kind of fell in love with Eddie Van Halen's guitar sound around age 12 or maybe 10. And one of the things I always noticed, aside from never being able to actually play along with the records in tune, like the actual tune, like a 440 tuning, was that he had an amazing way of getting power chords to ring out like a monolith. He and Billy Gibbons are great at this, okay? And this is something that you got to think about. What are we doing when we overdrive a guitar? We're flattening out. Let's say this is like a 0 point, right? There's negative and positive on a wave, right? So if we squash, okay, that's clipping, right? We're going to create a square wave. We're going to lower, effectively compress, all right, the signal so that there's an even amount of almost all the harmonics rather than predominantly the single pitch. So we get more harmonic content and less dynamic ability. But if I pick quietly, it doesn't really change too much the volume, right? So consequently, all the partials, not the fundamental, but the partials all come up. So that's why fifths sound good when they're in tune, that is. And we're going to want to work on how to get the guitar to sound like a single sound, right? Hear it beating? Now that's on the D and G string, which are tuned pretty evenly, right? But the problem happens when we start stacking thirds. That's when things get really nasty. When we hear that B string wants to be flattened pretty considerably. Right, so now that C triad, I flattened it. So now we can play tunes like if we try to play a D octave here, watch how flat the B string has to be in order to make that happen. I have to sharpen it with my tension. So when you're playing certain overdriven tunes, like we were playing Unchained, right? We need to sharpen, we need to flatten that B string. Right, we need to sharpen the tuning manually if we play a D chord like this, or just avoid the B string. It's pretty sour if we go. So just a little bit of downward pressure, okay? So look out for that. If you're playing thirds in your chords, right? You're gonna have to think about what type of voicing. If you're playing like these C chord shaped voices, okay, you're gonna have to alter it. So what do I have it tuned up to right now? That's flat by 11 cents. Okay, so if you're noticing that your thirds sound sour, there isn't too much you can do about it if you've got a lot of overdrive going on, all right? All right, let's get back to that Stonesy thing. All right, so we've got now a tuned guitar now, okay? All right, neck pickup, 5. Pretty good, not clean. Okay, that's at 5. At 3, put in the middle, brighten them up. Not ideal at all. It's not really where you want to be living. You want to live in a tougher world than that. If you don't want to be playing that kind of. That sounds pretty good. Right, kind of like that. Now we just get at the goodies by turning up. So one of the things that you want to do, though, is you want to take advantage of the fact that your thirds are going to be fucked up and learn how to play them from 1 fret below, all right? And this is a technique that I learned because I don't like playing slide very much. I'm not great at it, but I like the sound of it. So if we hold the B chord here, the 5th and the root, with our pinky and ring finger, and we bend index finger like that. Okay, we can get that kind of sound. Now we can practice that in C, A. Okay, so if we're sitting there playing Sharp Dressed Man, for example, that. Bending the flat 5 into tune against the pedal of the chord. And here. So if we add a little bit more overtones. Right, there it is. Yeah, it's tough. bridge pickup. There it is. Substitute for the slide, but in a pinch it'll do. Okay, I suck at slide. I just can't really cut it. Not you know, if let's say I'm a B+ player, my slide playing is like C+. Like I take a full letter grade hit. So that's a Marshall. And a Marshall sound is, to me, that's, well, this is a fake Marshall, all right? This is a Marshall preamp kind of stuck in a box, and I have a nice old super lead and a super bass. Great sounds, but they don't move me the same way the Kemper does, believe it or not. I think the Kemper sounds better, it's more consumable. It kind of sounds like a finished product. It's like the difference between ordering a fully cooked steak and looking up at a big leg, like a side of beef. There's something very impressive about seeing just, 12-foot carcass of right? But that is, I can't just walk up and eat it. This is ready to go in seconds. It sounds pretty good with minimal tweaking out of yours truly here. Right, I don't know if it's translating very well. But this is not too far from, the sounds that I grew up loving, right? It's a little boomier on account of the woofiness of the semi-hollow, but it really does help with the pickup, like getting the feedback to happen. So what are we doing here? We're going to try to feel the string come to life. And when we feel it fade, right, we're going to hear it. And we're going to realize, okay, maybe I can wiggle it and make it sustain more. Okay, you'll hear that at the end of I think there's a couple of Angus Young solos, even a Larry Carlton solo where he's up there just going, just shaking for dear life to get the last couple of seconds out of it. Sounds quite dramatic. The other thing we can do is figure out, is it a pickup problem? Is it the neck pickup wants to go? Okay, that seemed a little bit more lively, but then it got out of control. Let's turn the tone down, see whether or not we get any better. Nope. Bridge. So C on the B string does not seem to want to go infinitely. Now let's see what happens when we bend it here. Definitely seems like we have a better chance of getting that to happen. No. Usually the thicker the string, the easier it is to get to go. All right, so now we've kind of exhausted all the string and pickup options. The last thing we can do is kind of deal with getting more input into the guitar. Didn't want to work. That did, but that was an octave up. And bridge. Nope. Found it. Okay, so C is kind of a little fussy bitch. Okay, what did it take? It actually took, this is what's weird. I don't understand how this is possible, but it is. Bending up to C, it dies. fretting it. Okay, and facing made all the difference. Weird. Came and went. All right, so like a fart in the wind, my feedback disappeared. Poof. All right, it doesn't always last. That's the thing that makes it special and insane. When you hear those moments, like, what's that crazy moment in Wild Thing from Monterey, where Hendrix goes, and the guitar is just crackling with infinite sustain, and you're hearing like radio stations and all sorts of randomized things. That's the sound of several 100-watt stacks being blasted right smack dab into the middle of that guitar. All right, that's him literally humping that 4x12 and getting it to just go bonkers. And that man is an idol for me, an absolute, huge figure. And I wish I could handle those kinds of volumes anymore. I don't do it very much. So I do access these kind of sounds when I'm playing in my Grateful Dead band. I do go for feedback moments. They are few and far between. I try to stay kind of on brand, but there are moments where things like in the middle of like heavier tunes like The Other One or something like that, where I might experiment with, if I find myself getting lucky and I'm doing something and I'm sitting there going like, and all of a sudden the note just goes and takes off on me, I'm more than content to let it Okay. So, by the way, anybody who didn't notice, I was in fact playing Death Don't Have No Mercy in the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about that tune. Wow, what a song. Okay. E minor blues, effectively, right? I said death don't, up to G major, to B7, have no mercy in this land. I said death don't. Come down to D in this land, up to B7 again, come to your house, and it won't take long. The option to just stay here and go, your brothers and sisters are gone. I say death don't. Have no mercy in this land. All right, and we have the option of adding a C chord after that long A minor. Halfway through, you come to your house. Have no mercy in this land. Anyway, very heavy vibe on that tune. And it's nice to have a little extra horsepower built into the guitar. So, like, you could be playing the tune primarily kind of clean and then just wind it up. That's the difference between old Dead and new Dead, or old Dead and whatever, older Dead, right? Right. Garcia, when he had the humbucking guitar and had it all jacked up, he got great feedback. And he love that kind of that kind of horn-like sound. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, Michael. That was nice to see you. I looked up and I thought I saw Michael Waller. I think it might have been you. So I'm lucky. There's nobody in the house except for some guys building some closets. You can see my wife. She came out of the closet. No, she loves the closet as an idea of reducing clutter. And as you can tell, it still didn't work. There's still quite a lot of junk down here. So we're building some closet space upstairs. And as lovely as our home is, we apparently need more closet space. So I am overseeing a bunch of dudes who are installing some closets in my son's bedrooms. And they appear to have things under control. And I will bother them at noon or so, I'm guessing. Everybody else is out of the house because they don't want to be around with the noise, but I don't mind noise because I make it for a living. All right, let's talk about fuzz. Actually, let's shift. Let's look at another type of overdrive. All right, so the Marshall thing, that might not be your bag. You know, you might not like that kind of muted thing, or maybe even brighter. Right? That's even without the boost. Right? And if we're back here and we brighten up, we can get that, you know, that. This is too bright for my taste. I'm not a big fan of super bright bridge overdrive, with the exception of that kind of stuff. All right. So this is kind of bright in that regard, right? That's pretty good amount of overdrive there. I tend to keep one more always on tap here. So we've got this kind of nice kind of sound. Now here's a little extra beef. This is more classic. A lot of people might like that more. That's a tube screamer out in front of a Fender amp. I don't know if anybody knows that version of Midnight Rambler off Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, but that is just arguably one of the most influential pieces of music on me as a player, is that little bit of music where they're going. All right, so we've got the thumb over on the B. We're going to create that monolith. That if we hear any beating, we want to tune out of that. Sounds good. Hooking my thumb here and letting my hand fall. Not doing anything but that, just boom. I think Keith actually uses a capo and plays at a just open tune. Right, like that, with the capo here and plays the E. So right, I do this. Okay, and I'm creating that monolith by ignoring the A string, just giving the root 4. To effectively create the 4 chord with the root and the bass. And then I'm hammering on. From flat 7 up with the low E handled there again. If you've never spent some good time with that, that is some fun stuff. We get that. Hammering on, and then I'll occasionally put my middle finger on the flat 5 and go. Alright, it's basically the inverted version of where we pluck the high E, but we're going to do it here. Okay, but we're doing it. Just that low, sexy thud. All right. If we want to brighten it up, we can always bring more bass. Roll off less treble and add more clarity. But I don't think it gets more effective, to be honest. I think it sounds nice, kind of dull and smoky, a little smeary like that. Unpotted pickup. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm also taking advantage of diads, right? So I'm going, okay, moving the whole third like that. Great sound. Okay, if you don't know what I'm doing there, I'm literally rotating the pick and almost holding it flat with the strings, just brushing it up on that upstroke. Okay, so the other diads I'm taking advantage of is these two, and this, and, okay. And so there's that one Stones tune, Can't You Hear Me Knockin', that kind of is a grab bag for all things dyad, that... Great old tune. Maybe one of my favorite solos. Okay, I'm only using a little overdrive and a Fender Deluxe. Not a tremendous amount of overdrive. And this is probably my sweet spot that I live in most of the time. I used to play Fender Deluxe, Fender Pro, Fender Twin. For a long time, maybe 15, 20 years of just utilizing that with various stomp boxes out in front. And by altering the amount of low-end content going into the amp, you can deliberately make it get what I call that smeary, greasy sound on the lows when we're playing those kind of... All right, and that really does help create that, what I'm consistently calling the monolith of the... where we're not hearing any beating within the distorted chord. Right. So other moves that we're going to want to learn is this. We put down the tonic and play the pinky here. That deliberately introduces beating, right? And then we're going to go. Very primitive sound where that overdrive kind of goes. All right. Now why would I do that? Just sounds snarky for a second. Okay, that's the sharp 9. That's a great sound too. What are we doing? Just going to flatten out our pinky. Okay, a minor third up. So we got the flat 7 and the sharp 9. It's going to sound like a minor third, right? And then we're going to play. That's the third, and that's the major third opposite the minor third. All right, but when we hear it, right, we get that. So all that kind of pulsating, driving 16th note can really only be achieved, in my opinion, by the guitar player anyway, with the thumb over technique. Doing it like this. It's never going to be the same. It just, right? So that's your, that Steely Dan, Don't Take Me Alive, I think, you're using that thumb over like that to get that sharp 9 sound. All right, Hendrix, SRV, anything like that. Definitely coming from there. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, if you're into those, the Vonnegut stuff. All those cats utilize that, okay? Anyway, great sound right there. Can't get it any other way, in my opinion. How is you gonna make that chord sound right? Can't really get that and then do anything, right? Because here we're able to kind of have our own personal capo. winding up. Coming down the turnaround. That's the way to go. Right, there's a little room for Warren D. Martini right there. That's one of his licks, but that's what's weird about me. You guys never know when out comes the hidden metalhead, all right, or bluegrass, right? So we can also do that thumb over technique here and find that kind of thing, especially in the key of G. You got all that kind of stuff. I mean, granted, I conjured a little Knopfler there. Comes in real handy when you don't have an open string, like there's no open G string. Wonderful stuff. Gotta love the good greasy neck pickup. Sounds good. You can't be looking for precision out of it. You're looking for it to sound kind of gloriously sloppy. That kind of sound. Straight up blues band. I should probably join one just to get my shit together. Anyway, getting that thumb over, that's a great technique if you don't have that together. And learning how to handle a little bit more output out of your guitar other than one of these, like playing, you know, so much of my life is spent like with this pristine right? And that can sound good. There. A little too bright. Anyway, never doubt the 335, my friend. I am selling my Les Paul. I have decided I don't need a Les Paul. I'm happier with this. I am. It's weird. I don't know. Anybody out there a Les Paul guy? I used to be, and then I found this and really just took the heat out of the Les Paul. The Les Paul has so much more like direct a sound, and I tend to thrive here, I think. It's a nice sound. Get ready. I got some champagne upstairs chilling, and I've got to start working on dinner for tonight. So I don't know. I really didn't have much of an agenda today. I just was enjoying playing with some overdrive and heavy duty distortion, and I was getting pretty decent feedback out of that bridge pickup on that E note, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll sign on and just talk about this stuff. You never know what's going to happen. So I hope everybody's getting ready for a little celebration, and hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of trouble on the horizon in 25. We've got some interesting times ahead of us. I can see it coming. Not just here at my house, but globally. We've got some big changes coming, and I hope everybody is ready to be kind and compassionate to people that feel differently about things than they do, maybe. Anyway, great tones. Always enjoy hearing me play. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I can never tell whether or not this is going to come through. It's just like a... Oh, thanks, man. I can never tell whether or not the sound is getting fucked with by the the compression of a telephone, right? Like that sounds a little too bright and a little snappy here in the room on the neck pickup. Happy New Year, everybody. Much love, happiness, guitar, kisses to everybody, man. If you were in the room with me tonight at 12 midnight, I'd give you a big hug and we'd raise a glass of bubbles or whatever your poison is. And, you know, it's kind of weird not having a gig on New Year's, but my oldest is home from college first semester, so I'm going to spend some time with him and my other son, and hopefully it'll be clear tonight. We can go up on the roof and watch fireworks explode over top of our neighborhood park, which is lovely that we live close enough to Prospect Park to see what's going on. There's your sharp 9 again. Is that honey pie? I think that's honey pie. It's weird. Honey pie. Sail across the Atlantic. Minor. To your Hollywood song. Honey pie. That chord, you became the legend of the silver screen, and now the point of it makes me weak in the knees. Honey pie, across the Atlantic. Fun tune. Hey, you learn something every day. All right, wonderful. Ladies and germs, or probably there's one lady out there in the whole wide world who gives a shit about my little channel. But if you do, hey, thank you. And if you are a dude and you care about this stuff, thank you. I gotta say, I actually got about 4 or 5 thank you emails and wishing me a happy new year from people I don't know. And it is weird to talk into a phone for me. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. It makes me feel like I'm talking into a mirror or something odd because I can't see anybody else. But it was awful kind and surprisingly touching to find a bunch of testimonials and people saying how much they enjoy it's hard to call it work, but the time that I put into this channel and my playing and what they've learned from my presence in their life, even though they're not students, like like some of the people that tuned in today are. But it's nice. Or I even got a couple of people making writing me silly notes, and some being kind of heartfelt. Others just sent money, which was like, again, completely unexpected to get a little. Somebody sent me $100, and who was that? I don't have another phone, so I can't do this. But you know who you know who you are. Thank you, man. That was really generous of you to do that. I mean, obviously, I teach for money, but I've never actually gotten it paid by YouTube. I've never done anything through YouTube other than put out the people insisted I make tablature of some of my work. So I paid somebody to do it and to help offset those costs I charged for the tablature and stuff like that. Which, by the way, I'm the world's worst promotion guy. I'm telling you on the last day of it. But if you're out there and you're interested, the tabs are half price until tomorrow, and then after that, I stick it to you. They'll charge you a whole whopping $12 per thing. But today and today alone, they are $6 as long as you buy them in bulk, which I think will bring your Guitar World bill to $114, I think. Not quite the Strat. All right. Bye-bye, guys. Happy New Year. I'll see you in 25. Much love and happiness from Brooklyn. Once again, peace out. I'm Jack Devine. Later.